dancing serenade.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9PBS.
Hey, Alvin Reid sitting in for Charlie Brennan, and welcome to St. Louis Week in Review. Now, actually, it's Donnybrook, but Jim Gilsonen, that's what he likes to call our program, and he and his wife, Christine, have been married 54 years today. So congratulations to you. It's also the anniversary of Ray Hartman's birthday. It is Ray Hartman's birthday. I won't go into however old he is, but after his announcement that he was going to run for Congress, I bet he's a little bit older than he thinks today. But anyway, welcome aboard to Donnybrook, and it's been quite a week. When I headed off to college, I was 17 years old, and this publication called the Riverfront Times first hit the newsstands in St. Louis, and I first read it and looked at it, and over the years I told many people that we got this unique product in St. Louis, and it's really special, and it's kind of weird, it's kind of wacky, and the ads in the back, you might not want to, you know, show to your little kids, but it really was something special. And suddenly yesterday, it came to an end, and just by chance, Sarah Fenske is with us. And by the way, Sarah Fenske is with us. And so is Wendy Wiese from KTRS. Bill McClellan, one of our founders, and Jason Rosenbaum is sitting in technically for me in my seat. So sorry to miss my introduction, but I was so just ready to go with this show. But I'll come back to you, Sarah. So anyway, really bad news yesterday, and I think really bad news for the entire region. So just your thoughts, and where does the publication go from here?
I don't know if there is a publication. So the Riverfront Times was sold. We did not just shut down. We were sold. We were sold to an undisclosed buyer. And the biggest question I've been getting in the last whirlwind 48 hours or so is, who is this undisclosed buyer? I honestly have no idea. But I know that they did not want to retain any of the staff at the Riverfront Times. They were not interested in having a conversation or looking at the stories that we had already edited that were all set to go, the photographs that were already taken and edited and could have gone live that day. They appear to be buying this website, and I don't know what they're going to do with it. My sense is that it will not be local journalism in any way, shape, or form, and I know there will not be a print issue next week, because the story I had edited for it, nobody has asked me for it, which I would happily turn over even though I'm now unemployed. So it is very much the end of an era. It's a strange way to go out. It's been very sad, I'll be honest. The one sort of silver lining has been hearing from so many people about what the RFT meant to them. It's a publication that didn't always get a lot of respect while it was alive. And it's nice to know that in spite of that, now that it's gone, a lot of people truly loved this thing. And I know I loved it a lot. And I don't even know what to do with myself without it here.
Well, I hate to disagree with you, but it is a Donnybrook. And I have to tell you that it might not have felt like the RFT was getting a lot of love. It's always been part of the fabric of this community. And you and your staff breathed brand new life into both the paper and the community, and that just isn't going to go away, because you made it into a presence, you made it a part of the conversation, you had the demeanor, at least, of a newspaper 3 times your size. You covered everything, you covered it well. It's a great loss for the city, but I know I speak for everybody when I say we look forward to your next chapter, all of you. You, Ryan, all of your wonderful reporters, Danny, the entire crew.
And Sarah, when you say a website, like, there's a lot of us who don't really understand the whole social media thing. When somebody buys the RFT, just to shut it down, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, when you say maybe it'll become a website, exactly what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, someone could resurrect it, and somebody could want to hire a whole bunch of reporters that are just different than us. And I would welcome that. I would greet that publication with open arms, as long as these are reporters who want to do right by St. Louis and are trying to seek the truth. I don't know that I suspect that's what's happening here. You know, there's kind of this concept of these zombie websites where they have the archives of newspapers that once had robust coverage, and it seems to be of use that you can get people to still click on advertising through that. And this is just a theory again. I don't know who bought this thing, but that is something that has happened around the country to other publications.
I do just want to chime in. I was part of the Riverfront Times family, albeit in a very small way. In the early 2010s, when I was unemployed, the Riverfront Times gave me an opportunity to write for the music section. And I'm not going to lie, the pay was not great. It was $20 a blog post.
Never has been good.
But it really kept my passion for journalism alive when it was honestly waning. And getting to write about music was always something I wanted to do. And I also got to write about like music video games, which is a secret passion of mine. I own like 1,300 songs on the video game Rock Band. So it really is an honor to be part of this like weird fraternity of the Riverfront Times. And I know I'm not the only journalist in St. Louis who has a similar story like this.
But just one more question before we move on. Sure. So they have bought all of your archives? Have they bought all of your archives?
They appear to have bought the website and the web archive. The website as it currently exists, we're locked out of. They own that. However, there's, you know, bound copies of the Riverfront Times dating back to Ray Hartman's second issue in 1977. Someone lost the first issue. They had no idea this paper would go as long as it did. And I have gotten permission from our old owner that Wash U Libraries wants to archive them, and we'll be doing that. And so we're donating that to them. So they didn't want the bound copies. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Well, it is. It's indeed. Just a sad day. Now, if I hit the Powerball, you know, later tonight, is it possible that I could buy the name and then either try to resurrect it, or it's just...
That's a great question, and I know a lot of people have come to me, can't we get some money together and try to do this new thing that would be like the RFT?
I mean, St. Louis has what? The St. Louis region has what? 3.5 million people? If 1 million of them donated $50 to a fund, I think that'd be $50 million, and I'm sure that we can buy it from this tyrannical owner that has killed this journalist.
Here's the thing, people will not do that. I have been in journalism long enough to know that people will be angry if you even ask them to like have an ad. You know, they're going to try to put an ad blocker so they don't even have to patronize the person who's supporting you. People don't want to get their news from newspapers anymore. They want to be staring at TikTok all day. Local journalism, print journalism, legacy media is in terrible trouble. And this is not the fault of the man that owned the company that I worked for. He did try to find a local buyer for this and wanted to find a way to save the journalism jobs here. And there just was not enough support in this digital age to keep this going. And that is the cruelest blow of all.
All right. Well, a lot of us did expect this, but Cara Spencer has announced she will take on Tishaura Jones in the mayoral race, and I guess that would be 2025, just around the corner. So, Bill, same old story, North versus South, black versus white, or where are we going with this?
Well, I don't know. You know, Tishaura Jones and Cara Spencer had a lot of the same people. I mean, sort of the corridor people, liberals, liberal whites, progressive blacks. I think it's good and interesting that there will be a mayoral race. You know, I was afraid that, and nothing against Tishaura Jones, but I was afraid there'd be no serious candidate. And competition is always good. And Tishaura will get to see if people have bought into the idea that we're in the beginning of a renaissance, or whether they think that we have to change.
And as I'm sure that Tishaura Jones would have loved to vanquish Jimmy Matthews in a race, but I do think it is probably good for her long term to run a real re-election campaign against the person that she beat only by less than 3,000
Oh, I thought it was 4. Yeah, 4 percentage points.
Yeah, I think 4 percentage points. And I think that like the big thing that Cara Spencer is gonna try to argue is that city services just have not been up to snuff. And maybe that isn't really Tishaura Jones's fault. There's been a lot of hiring problems after the pandemic. Like, city hiring is really hard because city is next to the county, which is next to St. Charles County, which are all lucrative government jobs. But to your point, I do think it'll be North versus South, and I think a big thing that we're going to have to see, because I think that Tishaura Jones is will likely win the African American vote if there's another white candidate. It's whether Tishaura Jones's white support, particularly in the Central Corridor in South City, has atrophied over the last 4 years.
Well, I think it's more old against new. I mean, if you remember, Cara Spencer had a lot of the old-time people, Mayor Shamel and Jim Shrewsbury on her side. And so I think it'll probably be more of the same.
I will say, as the lone city resident on this panel,
that's her way of telling the rest of us to be quiet.
Also the lone unemployed person on this panel, so maybe I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Temporarily.
But I think this argument about city services not being up to snuff can be a pretty compelling argument. There are a lot of city residents right now who are kind of in a foul mood. We feel like a lot of things are broken. We're sick of the potholes. We want our trash picked up. A sort of back to basics play I could see working here. However, I think, you know, Cara Spencer's going to have a hard road to climb here. This is very much Mayor Jones's race to lose, not just because of the race factor and the strong support she's going to see from the north side. Spencer's going to see no support at all from the north side. I think Jones still does have many progressive voters in that central corridor. If anything, they're angry that she has governed too much as a centrist. And those voters are not going to go to Cara Spencer whatsoever.
And it is kind of interesting, though, because Tishaura Jones has a record. She now, I mean, this is a mayoral record now that gives Cara something to latch on to.
Yeah, in the last, the mayor's had a good 2 weeks. And, you know, it just kept control of the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. We're going to get to that in just a second. Excuse me. And it just seems like if it holds, and I don't know, who knows what's going to go on during the summer, but the whole crime is down. I mean, you could run that commercial once an hour, and that's hard to argue with. I know people can and say, well, the numbers are this or number that, but you say, like, hey, I'm going to reduce crime, and crime is reduced. I mean, that's a made-to-order.
It's the number one issue
television
in
commercial.
St. Louis, and it will be. Yeah, absolutely. I'm agreeing with you.
Right. And Jim Shrewsbury sent me a nice note about a story we had done. It was probably a couple months ago. So Jim Shrewsbury is alive and well.
And Vince Shamel was actually walking out of 9 PBS today as we were all walking in. So he looked fantastic.
They were Cara Spencer partisans in the last election.
Yeah.
You'll also see the firefighters are going to be lining up behind Spencer. You know, Spencer hadn't always had historically the greatest relationship with the cops. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I think she'll be able to win a lot of them over if it's a two-person race. Okay.
Well, the Ethical Society of Police wanted the police department to go to state control, and they lost. All right, that never came to a vote, and Jason, the legislature came to a close, and it was anticlimactic and pretty sad.
Well, let me just put it this way, Alvin. The legislature was so inactive on Thursday and Friday that I got to go to Eastside Tavern in Columbia twice to do karaoke with all of my friends. And I can't say that I've been able to do it twice in all legislative sessions, especially when the legislature was doing something. This was a profoundly unproductive legislative session. We got a sheet from the Democratic staff saying that there were fewer non-budget bills passed, even compared to the pandemic. Now, some people would say that's not a bad thing. I think there's been a saying that, like, the greatest threat to freedom is when the Missouri legislature is in session or something like that. But Republicans could not get their #1 priority passed, arguably their #1 priority passed. And that's an effort to make the Missouri Constitution harder to amend. And part of it was because of Republican infighting, but part of it was because of the strength of the Missouri Senate Democratic Caucus, which staged the longest filibuster in Missouri history. I really kind of feel like this could be the end of the supermajority era. With abortion likely being on the ballot, there is some feeling even among Republicans that Democrats are going to pick up seats in the suburban parts, both in the House and the Senate. Whether that means very much, it depends on if the Democrats are able to win the governor's race.
Tell us about Rizzo.
Yeah, so Senate Minority Leader Rizzo, John Rizzo, he's from Independence. First of all, I think he's going to be resigning to become the head of the Jackson County sports complex authority, which is going to be a big deal for Kansas City. Kind of meaningless for us, I guess.
Insert statewide office here.
No, but he's not. That's the.
He doesn't have any.
No, that's the interesting thing. He was making all of these like rousing speeches and talking about protecting democracy, but everyone knew he wasn't going to run for anything. He didn't sign up, and I was like, why isn't this guy running for statewide office? And then I answered myself, because everybody who's running for statewide office now is miserable, and everybody that's passed on it is having the time of their lives. They're like in Mexico, or they're at like
singing karaoke.
They're singing karaoke at Eastside Tavern. They're at a gas station playing an illegal slot machine. Running for statewide office is not very fun right now.
Wow.
Hey, what song is your song when you do karaoke?
So that's a great question, Bill. Buffalo Stance by Nina Cherry is my go-to, but I also did, that's a song from the late 80s, actually. I know the late 80s were kind of a black hole for music, but that's one of my favorite songs. And also songs, anything by the Killers.
All right. Winners and losers down in Jeff City. Rizzo was a winner, but he's not running for any office. I was going to say I think Mayor Jones, because of the police department issue.
I'll give you a loser. A loser was the Missouri Freedom Caucus. These guys cannot get along with anyone. It's incredible how they've managed to just blow up the goals of their own party. I can just imagine being at a crowded bar and they'd walk in and the room would go silent and everyone would walk out.
On the other hand, maybe Bill Eigel has made enough of a name for himself that with Ashcroft and Keogh, a three-person race, maybe Eigel's got enough name recognition now. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that it depends on how Ashcroft does. There's been a sense that Jay Ashcroft, the Secretary of State, is the favorite in the governor's race simply because his name is technically John Ashcroft, and I think he's John Ashcroft Jr., so that means he's John Ashcroft's son. But I think there is a feeling, because Kehoe is attacking him so much with ads, including one that turns Jay Ashcroft into a literal fish, that if Jay Ashcroft sinks, that Eigel could rise from the ashes, so to speak.
It seems like they're all, like, if we're reading your articles correctly, that they were all more interested in building their individual brands than moving legislation forward?
I think so, but part of it could be because Republicans have kind of run out of things to do. They've been in charge of state government now for almost 8 years. They've banned most abortions. You can't really pass any gun control laws. They've cut taxes. They've done all these things for, like, the agriculture industry. So when you get to something like initiative petitions and changing the Constitution, yeah, people are really energized about that. If going to, like, Lincoln Days and grassroots dinners, but if you ask the mom and dad at Richmond Heights Schnucks, they're like, IP reform, is that, are you talking about like fixing computers or something? Because they'll mix it up with IT reform.
Well, anyway, I'm kind of with you. It's good that they're not in session any longer, and If You Want Me to Stay by Sly and the Family Stone is my go-to karaoke song. All right. People are going downtown. They're going to downtown, and the mayor and Jason Hall from St. Louis Inc. and the police chief are saying we're going to make it brighter, we're going to make it more active, we're going to make it safer. Will it all work? And downtown make a big comeback here in the next couple of years?
Well, and it kind of made me wonder if this wish list would be as comprehensive. I mean, this certainly, to me, it seems like it had something to do with Cara's announcement that she's running for mayor. It's very ambitious. Another interesting part of all of this, if it's the crime stats, then they are solid. If it's the number of people who have left the city of St. Louis in the last, couple of years, then those are always open for debate. But they retail, sidewalk cafes, that kind of thing. It's ambitious. She's a politician. She's going to address, she wants the railway building, the exchange building addressed by September, okay.
She gave him like a 90-day deadline.
And so it's very vague. But the the combination between Greater St. Louis Inc., the St. Louis Development Corporation. But, you know, I hope it works. But this explains why she kept talking about a cultural renaissance during her State of the City address.
Sarah, I believe you're the only person that actually lives in the city.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
I established that. We're all county folk.
Is there too much downtown talk, or you think?
No, I think you know, they have to solve downtown. It's. You know, I understand downtown is not going to be what it was pre-pandemic, the rise of remote work, and, you know, there's so many factors that go into this. But as long as downtown is struggling in the way that it has recently, it just gives St. Louis a black eye. It's problems for the convention business. It's problem for trying to keep sports teams in the city, because if downtown doesn't work, then why not just go to Illinois or Chesterfield? So they know they have to solve this. There's a reason that Jason Hall has been pushing so hard on Fix Downtown. It's a regional issue. And I think, you know, attacking these two particular buildings that are to blame for this doom loop that the Wall Street Journal publicized, both have out-of-town owners. You know, I mean, you have St. Louis City, in many ways, there's young families here that are attracted to being here. The neighborhoods are thriving. Some neighborhoods really are, I promise you, county folk. But to have these out-of-town owners that have created these eyesores that are dangerous situations and that have been allowed to fester, tackling that is going to be a really good thing in terms of these key blocks of downtown. So I think it's going to be hard to pull this off by September. I'm excited they're putting the energy into this and saying we have to get this done. And I should say they had this city social event last weekend, brought a lot of people downtown, turned out great. Not a bad thing happened to anyone. I believe that's Alvin's motto.
St. Louis, nothing happened to me.
I pulled it off.
You need so much money to develop those two big buildings, though. I mean, it's just hard to imagine, and getting local money for it. I don't think it's possible.
Even with Greater St. Louis Inc., and even with the Cardinals, even with all that sort of energy going into it, you don't think it could be done?
Not the way the Cardinals are playing right now.
They've improved.
They have like a what, 2-game winning streak?
The Cubs come this week.
Oh, big time, big time.
I think I'm the only person on the panel from Chicago.
No, Jason's from Chicago.
But suburban Chicago.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm not a real. My wife is actually from the south side of Chicago, but she's a Cubs fan, and I'm a White Sox fan.
So the Chicagoans have infiltrated the show, Alvin.
Yeah, we're just calling this Chicago South.
There we go. We got two White Sox fans sitting here at the table, too. This is a bizarro little group of people we got here. All right, Bill, there's a Washington University professor who doesn't know if he has a job. What is going on? This is ramifications from the protests and ongoing. And how is this being handled? And what do we do for this poor gentleman?
It's being handled poorly. I mean, I was not enthused about the protests, and I thought Washington University did the right thing clearing the camp. But this is a lecturer in the anthropology department, and he can't find out his status, besides the fact that he can't come in. This was in the RFT.
One of our more final stories.
Yes, it was. And a really good story. This guy said he doesn't know what his future is because he can't find out. And it just seems to me that Washington University should at least have the grace to say, we don't ever want to see you again, or you're going to come back on double secret probation, or whatever they're going to do. But they ought to do something. Nobody should be left hanging.
And I want to just agree with what Bill said here, but also say, you know, he's saying if they thought I was a threat to students or that people felt unsafe because of my presence, because there have been, you know, in some of these coastal protests that Jewish students have been made to feel unsafe. This is a Jewish person himself. Right. He spoke about his faith with our reporter, his heritage, and that they can't even just tell him or let him go through some sort of disciplinary process and leave him in limbo. That feels wrong to me.
Maybe they haven't decided yet.
I know, they could tell him that. You know,
and let him know
next
that
Tuesday we're going to make a decision.
When the sun sets,
or here's the process. We're going to you get a hearing before us this, and we understand you can't reach your email to write recommendations for your students, which he's very upset about. But we're going to have this process that goes like this, and here's what happens next. Nothing. And he now has a lawyer. The lawyer can't get answered.
Why couldn't he write recommendations for his students?
Because they wouldn't give him access to his email.
Well, he could write it on his own email.
They have legal pads. You could he can still write, can't he?
Like with a ballpoint pen.
Yeah, a little feather or something.
I got one.
I think it would be harder for his students to access him, is what he said.
Okay. All right. All right, our last 2 minutes. Wendy, Jack Danforth wants to save the Republican Party. The guy who gave us Josh Hawley and Clarence Thomas, not by himself exactly, but hey, can he be the wounded child and, you know, actually save us from Mr. Trump's Republican Party?
I don't think so. I mean, I think Bill Barr saying this week that he was going to vote for the person he believes to be dangerous and narcissistic to the extreme, and all of the other awful things that he said about Donald Trump. He confirmed that he was going to vote for him. Today, Nikki Haley's announcement that she is also, after everything that she said during her primary battle, she said that she is going to vote for him. So the Kool-Aid at this moment is very, very strong, and I don't think there's any chance for a new Republican Party. The Republicans are scared of him.
So I talked with Senator Danforth this week, and I understands that it's daunting. Okay. Right now, it's the Trump party. I think his point and what other Republicans are saying is eventually Trump will be gone. And if he loses to Joe Biden, I think there's going to maybe be like an appetite for somebody not Trump, because Trump will be what, like 85?
Yeah, but he'll just keep banging that drum. Yeah. It was stolen. It was you know.
But I think his point is like some of the ideals that caused Republicans like George H.W. and W. Bush and Ronald Reagan to win elections, like free trade, military interventionism, could eventually make the party more centrist and more appealing. But I think even he would say it's not right now.
He's a realist.
Well, he tried to get, was it John Wood, you know, to run for Senate because Danforth felt that Missouri wanted a centrist. They really wanted somebody like a young me, and they didn't.
All right. Sarah, thanks so much.
Really,
I mean, it's a hard day, and you just happen to land with us, but we're always here for you, okay?
I'm happy to be here.
All right. You can write to us at Donnybrook, care of 9 PBS, 3655 Olive Street, St. Louis, Missouri, 63108. Send us an email to donnybrook@9pbs.org. Tweet X, #DonnybrookSTL. Give us a call on the Donnybrook comment line, 314-512-9094. Mysterious owner of the Riverfront Times, give us a call. And you can give us a listen on your favorite podcast spot. We are all over on all major platforms. Once again, Sarah, thanks so much. True professional. Jason Rosenbaum, thank you for sitting in with us as well. Charlie will be back next week. I'll be here too. See you next week on It Is Donnybrook, not St. Louis Week in Review.
Donnybrook is made possible by the support of the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation and the members of 9 PBS.